This study was done in the United States and the rest of the world, and we have the very first data, and I presented the first data today. So this was double-blind, placebo-controlled, add-on fenfluramine to existing treatment in children with Dravet syndrome. What we found was actually confirming what we knew from our retrospective study. So that means that in the mean seizure frequency reduction was about 75%, which is a very high number. And also if you look at responders, that means how many children had a decrease of seizure frequency of at least 50%, that was also 70 to 80%. So that was really not surprising for us, but this is one of the best results if you look around and look at the existing studies on treatment with anti-epileptic drugs in Dravet syndrome. So we hope that the next study, which will be another study in Dravet syndrome, but in children who are taking stiripantol, and the first study was without stiripantol, the newer study is on stiripantol. If that is also confirming what we know right now, probably fenfluramine will be on the market in 1 or 2 years because of these extraordinary positive results. My idea for the discuss was, can we make a relationship between seizure frequency and comorbidities? Or can we make a relationship between late diagnosis and comorbidities? Because we always think if you have a lot of seizures, if you have bad Dravet, with really many seizures, that you will also have many more other comorbidities. Or if you have a late diagnosis instead of an early diagnosis, that you will have a less good, a worse outcome. So these things are all possible to look at. So we did look at it, and one of the first thing that we saw is that the majority of these families or these children were treated with the right drugs. That means that they are not using the contraindicated drugs for Dravet syndrome. They were almost all on the right drugs for Dravet syndrome. But despite that, only 10% was seizure-free for the last 3 months. So that means that what we have right now as treatment options for Dravet syndrome is not good enough. We need newer drugs. That's also coming from that survey. The other thing that we learned from the survey is that there are many more comorbidities than we as professionals think of. All these children have intellectual disability. More than 70% of these children need special schooling. 30% have autism, 50% have behavioral problems, and in a lot of conferences this is not really dealt with. We really have to focus more on these comorbidities. Now finally, if we try to correlate seizure frequency with comorbidities, that's a difficult story. We do see that intellectual disability is correlated with seizure frequency, motor problems is correlated with seizure frequency. So again, if we can reduce the number of seizures, we hope that we can also reduce the number of comorbidities. It's a survey, it's retrospective, it's biased by the answers of the parents. So if we ask how many seizures did your child had the last couple of weeks, we had to rely that they are correct. If we ask, has your child motor problems, if they say yes, we really don't know what they mean. Is it delay in motor development? Is it wheelchair bound? So there are a lot of biases in that sort of studies, but because we have 580 families, I think it's really powerful to make some conclusion at least. What we hope is that at the end, we will look much more at this comorbidity as an outcome measure for any new drug. We have to do the randomized controlled trials as we do it right now. The FDA and the EMA are dictating us how to do the studies, the short-term studies. We really have to do the studies, and we are happy that the results for fenfluramine are great, really great. But the most interesting part is, what is the effect of the new drugs on the comorbidities? So now that we know how frequent the comorbidities are, how can we can measure the comorbidities in a better way? So if we administer a new drug to a child with Dravet syndrome, we should not only look at seizure frequency, but also to the other things. And that's, some people are working on this. We call it as a composite score. So not only seizure frequency is important, but also the effect on schooling, on behavior, or on autism, on extra need for psychology, extra need for physiotherapy. What is the effect of a drug or a new treatment option on these parameters? So that's what we hope to achieve with the survey.